this past Saturday was Survivor Series, the 30 something or 40 something. It's been around forever. And it was eventful. If for no other reason, we saw some returns. And to help me break it all down, joining me on the hotline, my good friend from Pro Wrestling Talk STL that you can hear on 590 The Fan in St. Louis. He is Joe Roderick. Joe, I know you were there. I got to get your take right off the top. After what seemed like forever, he finally came back. What was your thought on the return of R-Truth?
I tell you what, man, that place popped for R-Truth. They really did. And here I do have a funny R-Truth story from that night. Well, I mean, first of all, like your intro, I thought it was really funny that at the press conference afterwards, Triple H also made a similar joke about that.
Yeah,
it is incredible how universally loved R-Truth is. For a 51-year-old in the business who will never be world champion in WWE, his job security is, I mean, right up there, top 5 in the company, I would think, with just how well liked he is there. But so where I was sitting I kind of like diagonally, like a 45-degree angle to the turnbuckle to where I could see off to the left. I could see the stage.
Right.
I could see the screen. So I'm sitting there and I don't know what was behind me. I mean, we walked directly back to one of the rooms for the press conference. So I don't know what was, what made the area I was in so special. But like before the show, I'm sitting there, I'm talking to another friend of ours, Fred Slow, who was also at the event.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there and he's turned around and we're talking. And I see this woman walk by me with 3 teenage daughters. And I go, oh my God, that was Stephanie. He goes, no, it wasn't. And I go, Fred, I'm like, that was Stephanie McMahon. Like, she just walked by. I know it's Stephanie McMahon's face. He goes, there was nobody around her. Nobody else is freaking out the way you just did. I go, Fred, that was Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
I go, 3 teenage daughters. I go, those are her daughters. Like, that's got to be how old her kids are now.
Yeah.
And they had one security guy with them. And sure enough, when she walked back by before the men's war game match, it was Stephanie McMahon. And we've all seen the pictures now online too. Stephanie McMahon was at ringside off camera for almost the entire show. So, she was there. But also right before the men's war game match, I thought it was weird because R-Truth also walked up right past me. So I was sitting right there on the aisle and R-Truth just walks right by me with a couple security guards. And I'm thinking, why was R-Truth down there? It was just yesterday that I saw a video. R-Truth, I guess, went in the crowd near where the cages were in the crowd just for the entrances, just to do Jey Uso's hand-raising entrance with everybody else in the crowd. just so people would take video of him doing it and put it on social media. And then immediately after that, they're like, all right, Truth, let's get you out of there.
Look, R-Truth, Ron Killings is a national treasure. He could actually work as a GM in WWE because I think you look at so Raw GM is Adam Pearce, SmackDown GM is Nick Aldis, at least for one night. NXT GM was Cody Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
So the common thread, all of them are former NWA World Heavyweight Champions.
Yep.
So Ron Killings, former 2-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, maybe he could be a GM.
What he's done so far, his first 2 nights has been just absolute gold. It's awesome to have him back. I hope at some point they do something like that just to play along with it. I don't know how many fans would get the joke if they did, but it would be a lot of fun. Plus, I mean, he was having a fun run in NXT before he got hurt. So it would make perfect sense at this point.
You're right. So, all right, let's talk about the other returns. We'll start with the big one. So, every outlet, I mean, you think of Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful, you think of Dave Meltzer, you think of Nick Hausman and all these guys that we're friends with, for the last few weeks, everything they heard, no, CM Punk's not coming back. CM Punk's not coming back. And apparently, this thing came about pretty quickly, like within a week or 10 days before Survivor Series. Sure enough, so after Team Cody wins, Randy Orton, who looked fantastic, by the way, after a year and a half away from the ring, they get the victory, men's Survivor Series. They do what you think is the sign off, and then here comes Living Color, and here comes CM Punk. Tell me how loud that pop was inside the Allstate Arena there in Chicago.
So I can't tell you how loud it was.
You were in the room. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Because of that. Because okay, so that's I don't know how many people have told this story yet that were there as far as media go with that. So Cody gets the pin on Damian Priest. Immediately after that, WWE Media Relations walks to the section that all the media was in and says, "All right, guys, follow me. We're going to the press room." And I sit there and I'm like, God damn, guess Punk's not coming. Like, everybody was real excited for it. It's not happening. If media relations is coming by and taking us out, that's that's over. That's the show.
Pretty good sign.
Okay, you know what? It was a really fun show. The crowd was great. I do kind of want to stay out here to see what happens, like how bad the crowd would have reacts to Punk not being there, what the boos were like, and I'll get to that in a bit too. But we go to the press room. We get in there. Byron Saxon's already there. Byron Saxon's there in his little red suit. He's ready to do that. He has a TV screen on the floor that has the WWE Network on it. So Byron's watching it, waiting for the show to go off the air and for him to take over. And he is fully ready to be in there and they are, to throw it to Byron Saxon to take over. And we're sitting up there and somebody in the room goes, "Oh my God, he's here." And everybody, like this TV's on the floor in front of Byron Saxon in the front row. So everybody's having to like move up to the front and see this little tiny 32-inch maybe TV that is on the floor in the press room.
Yeah.
And I turn to the media relations guy. I go, "Chuck, I'm going back out there. Like, is that okay?" He goes, "What?" I go, "I'm going back out there to see this." He goes, "Why do you need to go back out there?" I go, "Punk, he's here." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" so
basically, our good friend Chuck Kingsbury, who's a fantastic member of the WWPR staff. You and I worked with him together on Super Bowl Radio Row. So he didn't even know.
No, people that So a guy who is about to be bombarded with emails and requests about what is going on the TV had zero clue that it was going on the TV. That this guy was about to have to take, of the amount of requests that this guy was about to have to answer to, the press release that they were about to have to send out in regards to this signing, he had absolutely no idea what was going on 30, 40 feet behind the room that we were in.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, go." And I go out there. So I'm watching it and watching everything happen. The crowd is going bananas. And it was absolutely unreal. And then we file back into the room and they have no idea. At one point, Chuck he goes, "I'm sorry." He goes, I'm sorry that he's like, I heard like he came up to, he was like, "I'm sorry that you missed that." Like he said, "I had no idea." And in the press conference, Triple H even talked about how few people knew, said that TKO didn't even know.
Yeah.
The brand new company that just bought WWE for billions of dollars was not brought in on this. I mean, it really felt like it was Triple H, Nick Khan, CM Punk, probably AJ, unless CM just said that he was going to go for a drive because he drove himself to the arena.
Oh, wow.
He drove himself to Allstate Arena that day from the north side of Chicago that night. And I don't know, maybe the guy that had to hit his music and cue his graphics on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that as of 9 p.m. on Saturday night, 5 people knew that CM Punk was returning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a huge surprise. And he stood out there. He actually sat in the walkway there in the entranceway, and then you go to Monday Night Raw, and they save his promo till the very end of the show. So he comes out, and I'll be honest, I guess a lot of people were expecting some fire to come out of him. You're talking about a man who 3 months prior was fired by AEW. In fact, I was at Cauliflower Alley Club in Las Vegas where he's getting honored, and he does this 40+ minute speech. And then a day or two after that, Tony Khan fires him. So I think a lot of people were expecting to hear some, blowback, and he was on his best behavior. There was no mention of anything even remotely related to AEW. There was, no mention of the Young Bucks, no mention of Omega, no mention of anything. He even said he was home. And I guess people were expecting, the pipe bomb CM Punk, and when they didn't get it, people were like, well, that sucked. But it didn't. I don't think it really sucked. I think it was simply a matter, and I've read all the reports, and it seems like CM Punk wants to put everything that happened in AEW. He wants to just put that behind him and move forward. Give me your impression of what you heard Monday night on Raw.
I'm not a CM Punk fan. Let me say that just to start it. I am not a fan of CM Punk. I didn't think that AEW needed to bring him in. I didn't think AEW needed to give him a second chance. I had no problem when they fired him. The only problem I had with it when they fired him was the fact that I was up at Starcast up there. I was up there for All Out.
Mm-hmm.
And leading up to that week, I was promised a lot of interviews by AEW stars. And then when all of that happened in London, they canceled every single possible interview because they didn't want their talent to talk at all about CM Punk. So that also rubbed me the wrong way. But I had these feelings about him before that. So that did not play into it. If anything, it just made them stronger. I don't think WWE needed to bring him back. But Stu, as you know, we've lived together for a few weeks at Super Bowls, and you see how much fun I like to go out and have. I live for chaos.
Yes.
I love a good story. When it's all said and done, I'm a fan of a good story. And CM Punk getting fired in August by AEW and showing up in November in WWE is a really, really good story. But the thing is, AEW fired CM Punk and had to sit there and go, what do we do next? Like, where do we go from here? All of their plans, all of their ideas that they had were thrown out the window, and anything in the future too, they had to kind of scramble. And I think they kind of still are scrambling with a few things. Mm-hmm. If in WWE, if CM Punk screws up, okay, they move on. Yeah. They never mention him on TV again. If he screws up and they have to move on from him, they do it like that.
Right.
They bring back Brock the next week, and next thing you know, you forget about him. They have Roman show up on TV, you forget about him. You could bring AJ Styles back from injury. Anyway, you look at all of the guys that we haven't seen in a few. Where's Sheamus? I mean, names like you could just bring those guys in, pop them into something, boom, okay, CM who? Like that's what you could do in the WWE. AEW doesn't have that luxury at this point. WWE does, and CM Punk has to be smart enough to realize that if he really is there to make money and not make friends, the only way you're making money is if you stay around for a while and you perform.
Right. And
And
you,
yeah,
you do it not necessarily you're not necessarily towing the company line, but you just you do your stuff in the ring, get out, hit the next town. So and the funny thing is, I'm with you, Joe. I think CM Punk is a great wrestler. I have enjoyed watching him in the ring, but I like you. I definitely did not think CM Punk should have been brought back the second time. And I think this is a case of Punk needing WWE more than WWE needing Punk. No,
yeah.
it's not. I mean, look, it was a big splash, made a big splash, especially with Survivor Series being in Chicago. I will be interested in seeing what reaction he gets going forward in other cities. So, I think
I will tell you that at Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois, when chants during the show tried to start of CM Punk, they were immediately met with boos.
Yeah.
It was split. I think there are a lot of fans out there that are over it. That it's up. It's times. I mean, I think there's plenty of wrestling fans I think now that would boo Ric Flair. That when Ric Flair shows up on TV, that they're going to boo him because it's one of those where I feel like there's a segment of people that are just over that it's okay. We don't need this anymore on TV. We're good. We can go on to the next guy. And I think that means CM Punk is kind of in that, I think, in that realm right now of things where you don't need him. There's plenty of other wrestlers out there that we could cheer for that have been on their best behavior at all times, that don't have controversy surrounding them. Let's see those guys and not this again.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about the rest of Survivor Series. As we mentioned, Randy Orton comes back, helps Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso and Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins win their match against Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre. You also had, I guess you could call it the babyface team: Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and who else was it? Oh, Shotzi.
Shotzi, yeah.
Getting the win over Damage Control. I would say it's a little odd that you had both babyface teams win. It feels like the women's win should feed more into Damage Control eventually breaking up, or at least Bailey being ousted from Damage Control. We'll see what happens Friday night on SmackDown. Other than that, you had two title matches. Neither title changed hands. I don't think anybody expected either title change hands. Give me your overall grade for Survivor Series, taking all of it in as a sum total.
It was a fun show. I still don't understand the reason for the Dragon Lee versus Escobar match. I don't know why that was needed, why that was on the card. It's still, I mean, I don't know why they took Carlito out of that match. That would have been fun to see Carlito in a premium live event. I haven't seen if there's anything going on there with him being injured for that. But outside of that, you had, the Miz's babyface run continues. You're trying to push him as being a good guy now, and you need to give Gunther somebody to beat every so often. So it was fine to see that. But as far, the two the way the two matches went, I'll tell you this. I did not see the attempted cash in coming. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I thought that was done really, really well because me and thousands of others up there in Chicago, I think, had our phones out ready to record the pop of Randy Orton making his return after nearly 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then Rhea Ripley's music hits and she runs down. And then people hadn't stopped and hit record again to get ready for Randy's actual music hitting.
I get that, and it was, and you're right, it was done well. I'm just not sure it was needed. You had enough going on with that match, especially the Randy coming back and everything, that this, fake, the cash in that ends up not being a cash in, it was actually kind of forgettable. You
need to have them. You need to have them though. We haven't had too many of them, and I keep waiting for that cash in to come. So I do like the teases.
I suppose. I guess I'm I'm in the camp of, okay, let's have it once and for all. Let's see the cash in, whatever. So
I'm ready for it. I am very much ready for Damian Priest to cash in on Seth Rollins and see where that goes. I'm very ready for that to happen.
Yeah. Stop me if you heard this before. WWE then sends out a press release. Survivor Series breaks records for gate, merchandise sales, and viewership. Most watched Survivor Series, biggest gate in Survivor Series history. And I think I talked to Mike Sempervive about this, a month ago. WWE is just they're on a roll, and it's almost, I'm not going to say they're screw up proof, but it would take a lot to screw this up right now because they are just hitting on all cylinders.
That I know the War Games is what's appealing out of this past match, but you look at the names you didn't like. You didn't have Seth Rollins defending his title.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns hasn't been mentioned in a couple weeks now. So you didn't have Solo, you didn't have Jimmy. You have figured out a way to keep pushing the Jimmy and Jay thing kind of down the line. I love that we are, it's similar to Ray and Dom from last year, to where it's amazing to me how you could start a storyline at one point and push it off so far. Like you have it happen. You remember when we had Ray and Dom at the Clash of the Castle, when that was the turn last year. Mm-hmm. And look when Jimmy turned on Jay now. And you're thinking there's no way they're going to be able to go till WrestleMania without putting this on, and somehow they have it mapped out. I mean, tell me they could have done that 10 years ago and would have been able to do something like that. No chance.
Lord, no, Vince wouldn't allow it. Vince would, because Vince would want to pull the trigger and change the title at least 5 times since then.
Yeah. And so you're able to do that. I mean, LA Knight wasn't on the show. Like that's one of the hottest stars in the company right now wasn't there at the paper at Survivor Series. So to have that and to not just know that you just don't need to how easy would it have been to just throw together a classic Survivor Series match? How easy would it have been to just throw LA Knight and Kevin Owens versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory on that card after what happened on Friday Night SmackDown? You could have easily just put that on there and went with it. But no, instead, you're putting on these pay-per-views with 5 matches. There was no dark match. There was no pre-show match. Right. There were 5 matches. Yeah. How many did AEW have at their last pay-per-view?
Many more. They had
right.
I want to say 12. I will give Triple H all the credit in the world. He is very disciplined when he wants to keep these premium live events, pay-per-views, whatever, to a certain time. And he understood the Survivor, the War Games matches are going to take a lot of time. And so that's why he didn't put in any more matches than what he had. And it made total sense. And it's, just ran 7 to 10 and there he went. boom, you're out. So, good on him.
And then, yeah, and on top of that too, with how good business is, I mean, think about where they're going to be next year. I mean, where they went this past year, all the ones overseas and outside of the continental US that they did last year, and they're doing that again in 24. So now not only do they have this formula to where they're selling out every Raw and SmackDown, or damn near selling out every Raw and SmackDown, now they're saying, you know what, we don't even need to have these premium live events. These other ones, yeah, the big ones, yeah, SummerSlam is going to be in the US, Survivor Series will be in the US, Royal Rumble will be. But the ones after that, Backlash or Elimination Chamber,
you got
they're taking
Elimination
those.
Chamber in
Yeah,
Australia.
last year, and last year Elimination Chamber or whatever they had, was that Elimination Chamber up in Montreal
No,
last year?
that was
I thought it was Elimination Chamber last year. It was Sammy and Roman was in, that was in
I guess you're
Montreal.
right. Yeah.
So
You're right.
I mean, it's another international pay-per-view that they're doing these internationally now, to where they're saying, hey, we're going to sell out all of these Raw and SmackDowns here in the US when we come to your town, but then we're going to give these other countries a taste of it and break records over there too. And because they have a show in Germany and France and Australia next. I mean, it's crazy. It is crazy how they are just printing money right now.
I'll be honest, I'm waiting to see when they decide to do one in Japan. Because of, and if for no other reason, put it up against New Japan. There was the rumor, prior to COVID, there was the rumor going around about they wanted to buy Pro Wrestling Noah and turn it into NXT Japan. There was, so I'm wondering when that's going to happen. But yeah, they're just printing money. Cody Rhodes declares himself for the 2024 Royal Rumble, which will happen in Tampa, Florida, end of January. If you get out the crystal ball, do you see Cody back-to-back winner?
It's so early to guess, right?
I know.
It's
the way too early predictions. We see it in college football. Why not?
I don't know how. I am still very much hoping that we somehow get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. I think right now we get Seth versus CM Punk at WrestleMania too.
I'm thinking it's going to be Seth, CM Punk, and Roman Cody.
Let me ask you this, because this was a debate I had with my friend and co-host the other day. Let's say Damian Priest cashes in on Seth and takes the belt off of him. Without the title on the line, would Seth versus CM Punk still main event night one of WrestleMania?
No.
Okay. So you are of the belief that a title needs to be on the line to main event?
I'm old school.
Okay.
I'm the guy that says, it was always meant to be your world title should be in the main event.
Yeah.
I don't think Seth versus CM Punk is a main event without the world title. I think it'll be.
They hate each other so much, though.
Well, at least on TV.
I really think that the dislike is there. If you listen to old Seth interviews, I think the dislike really is there. And I think Seth realizes the money that can be made here with that too.
Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah.
But I think Seth Rollins CM Punk non-title match, I could see it as a semi-main, but not main event.
The last 2 years, a world title has not been. Actually, I think the last 3 years, a world title has not been in the main event. A men's world title has not been in the main event of WrestleMania.
Well,
you had the women's match. We had the women's. That's why I said men's.
Kind of like that's a world title, even if it's women's.
Okay, then you had Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold, and last year the tag match.
Yeah, that's true. Well, tag is the world. If you want to call them, they don't call them that, but they're essentially world champions, world tag team champions. So
I think you give these guys 3.5 months to build it up. They can put on. They could make it. They could make it a main event.
Maybe
For night one of WrestleMania. Yeah.
Yeah. That's possible.
You know what? You throw Logan Paul versus Bad Bunny on that night one card too, and yeah, people are going to tune in to watch.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Let's switch gears to AEW. Right off the bat, QT Marshall has resigned from AEW, citing the company's going in a direction different from what he wants to do. And I think in an interview he talked about how AEW seems to try and make itself a little like New Japan in the sense that they're more match driven and not so story driven. Give me your thoughts on QT Marshall and him. And I mean, there was a time he was Tony's number two. Of course, he was there with Cody. Runs the Nightmare Factory with Cody. Just give me your thoughts on QT Marshall.
Knowing how important he was to backstage, it's another big loss for the company. That AEW is a company that is in desperate need. I mean, we talked about this with CM Punk, and I didn't use these words then, but AEW really, really needs adults in the room. Mm-hmm. They really need adults running things behind the scenes in that company. And you've never heard a negative thing about QT Marshall and the way that he was doing business backstage. It's one of the things where, yeah, you don't hear about a guy, you assume he's, doing a decent job. The ones you heard complaints about were the ones that maybe weren't mature enough to have that kind of responsibility back there. So to lose that is, I mean, is it going to put even more pressure on somebody like Bryan Danielson? Is he going to have to step up? Because look at all these big names now that you've lost that are adults in the room. Mm. And that's where the biggest loss is. You're not losing anything on screen with QT Marshall leaving, but who are you going to get to replace him backstage now?
Yeah, and I think you're right. There is a need for, like you said, more adults in the room, so to speak. I'll be interested. It seems like Tony is leaning more on Bryan Danielson as far as creative. As we heard that allegedly Bryan Danielson was part of this quote unquote disciplinary committee that ruled that CM Punk should have been fired. It's they got to pull in the guys like Jerry Lynn, like Dustin, like some of these older veterans that are in the back to hold court, so to speak. Keep things rolling. So, did you ever watch Being the Elite?
I've been on Being the Elite twice.
I've actually been on once.
Yeah,
very briefly. Well, I've been on, and my voice has been on.
Oh, my voice has not been on. I've been on it twice. I was on it once before All In, when they were giving Animal the tour of just kind of when we were going over Animal's role in All In when he was coming out, and I was walking around with the Bucks and Cody and Animal. Like it's the all of us just walking around. Just another time in my life, Stu, where I was somewhere where I did not belong, and yet I was there anyway.
My voice was on
the Forrest Gump of St. Louis radio. That's what I am. And then another time, the show. But you were in commentary for the show. The one in was that the one in Atlanta? Okay, yeah. That's the other one I was in. Cody came out, and I was standing right there.
Yes, that was me. It was me, Joey Janela, and Kevin Gill on commentary, and I screamed, "It's the American Nightmare," or whatever. So, well,
by the way, did you see the Janela versus Tajiri's match at WrestleCade?
I have not.
I
need to watch it.
Go back and watch it. Janela used the he used the sunglasses, the Vipers used it to avoid the misting in the face.
Smart move.
Yeah.
So Being the Elite apparently is no more. but it has now been replaced by being the Dark Order. I
Does this
watched
just plain in because the Bucks said they were leaving?
yeah, of course, you know this is, but I watched that first episode. Boy, it was hard to get through it because I really do think. Look, I love the Young Bucks. I think they're fantastic guys. Being the Elite jumped the shark months ago. So, and I don't think the Dark Order being on it is going to save it.
No.
It might, yeah, I think it might be. Um, did you see this? So last week, Christian Cage, the TNT champion, decides to rechristen Luchasaurus as Kill Switch.
Yeah.
Now, am I the one that kept looking for Shane Strickland to come out saying, hold it, that's mine? Because that was his name in Lucha Underground.
Was it? I didn't know. Okay,
Yes.
I didn't know that, but I mean that's Christian's finishing move is
Or
the kill
maybe
switch.
Kill Shot. It may be Kill Shot.
Because kill switch is Christian's finish. The Unprettier I thought was also called the kill switch, wasn't it?
He also rechristened Nick Wayne as the Prodigy, and then Adam Copeland proceeds to concerto both guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just saw on Dynamite that he's going to challenge Christian Cage, I think next week for the TNT title. So, but this whole Christian Cage thing, this patriarch, give me your thoughts. I'm kind of enjoying it.
I think that Christian Cage is I think this is where we have seen Christian Cage kind of solidify how good he is at what he does. I think Christian Cage has always been a Hall of Famer, always been, such an incredible talent, but I think now is when we are really starting to see and possibly appreciate just how good he is and maybe some of the stuff that we've missed. I think we could say, and I know Kurt Angle has openly talked about this. Kurt Angle has, said just how great, where he would rank himself all time. And that I think a lot of people don't realize how much good stuff Kurt Angle did in TNA back in the day. I think maybe you can make that argument too with Christian Cage, that he had a really good run in TNA that a lot of people didn't watch.
Yeah.
And that was between, his stints in WWE. So I think this is where we should be respecting Christian Cage. That being said, it still somehow feels like they are really dropping the ball on Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. I feel like I've lost a lot of interest in this since Adam Copeland debuted. And we all knew it was going to go there. I feel like maybe it's taken too long to get there.
I think you may be right. I think it's a matter of, they should have gotten to it quicker. Yeah, they're going to get to it allegedly next week. We'll see. Interesting on, I guess it was on either Rampage or Collision. You had Wheeler Yuta beating Katsuyori Shibata to win the Ring of Honor Pure Championship, and they tried to recreate the injury that Shibata suffered to his head back in 2017. I don't know what they were trying to do with that. Yuta low blowing Shibata to win the title, fine. But then going so far as to try to recreate that, and I get that Shibata may have been for it. I'm trying to figure out why.
That I am not caught up at all on that yet. That is one I do need to go back and check all that out.
But I think it's just a weird move. Why would you want to recreate something that almost killed the man 6 years ago just for
6 years? 6 years is an eternity in wrestling.
I get it, but I don't know. I'm going. Yeah, he has to go back to Japan. Why do you have to write him off like that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm puzzled by it. It's kind of one of those things. it felt really unnecessary. I'm not saying it was necessarily in bad taste, it just feels like it didn't need it.
Yeah. I feel like after 6 years, I feel like that's enough time to where you can revisit something like that.
I
Yeah.
guess. Like I said, it just felt weird. We've got MJF and Samoa Joe. They're going to meet each other at World's End in Long Island on December 30th. But apparently, before that, they're going to be in a tag match next week against whoever is wearing the devil mask and I guess a partner.
I think it's no. I think it's the two. I think it's two of the mystery men.
Oh, two of the henchmen.
Yeah, I think it's two of the henchmen. I think is who they're going to face. So will we be able to tell who it
That's what I was going
is?
to say. Okay, first of all, give me your theory. Who's under the devil mask?
Britt Baker.
Britt?
Yeah. Yep. I think it's Britt, and I think they see. I don't know if that was the initial plan. I think maybe they saw the success that Judgment Day is having with Rhea leading a group. But I think that Adam Cole will be involved. I think it's Adam Cole, and I think it's Roderick Strong, and I think it's the Kingdom. I think those are your four.
You okay? All right. Why not?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be. I think Britt is going to be involved in it.
Okay.
Yeah,
It'll be interesting. The whoever was in the devil mask tonight on Dynamite looked bigger than Britt, but maybe it was just maybe they're going to switch them out. I don't know.
who do you think are the henchmen?
See, I don't know. I heard one theory that it could be David Finlay and a couple guys from Bullet Club in New Japan. I've heard that it could be I heard someone say Wardlow, but I don't think that person's that. I think Wardlow's too big.
Yeah.
And we already know Wardlow's coming after MJF. Why does he need to go under him?
Right.
So I really don't know. I'm kind of at a loss. I've heard the Adam Cole thing, and I kind of get it, except for the fact Adam Cole's is still out of action, healing his ankle.
How much do we? I mean, he had like how injured do we? But also too, remember that whoever's behind, like the four guys that were in the ring tonight, beating up MJF. The four that were in there, the people under those masks don't have to be the people that are going to be unmasked when those times come.
True. Very true.
Those could have been four indie guys that they just grabbed from the area and said, "Hey, put this mask on."
Yeah.
And go out there and do it. And then down the road, they could do like it could be somebody completely different walking around until Adam Cole is healthy enough to do all that.
Well, maybe not tonight, but if you believe the talk around the campfire, in previous incidents, whoever was under the mask and the devil, it's whoever is going to be revealed. It's the person that's supposed to be under the mask. In other words, it's not some stand-in.
So if that's the case, I mean, looking at the body size, it's Britt, it's Jack Perry, it's Adam Cole. It's one of those three.
See, now I could see Jack Perry.
I just don't know how you work the rest of everybody into that. Like that's
I don't know who does, if it's Jack Perry, who's his henchman?
Right. And why? How does it make sense for whoever? Yes. So. Right. So that's where I'm so. But I did like. I mean, they advanced it tonight. They had the guys show up in the ring. They gave them somewhat of an entrance with the flashing lights, and then they typed out the words on the screen. Like after 2 months of wondering what was going on, they finally added something to this that you're like, okay, we're getting somewhere with it.
By the way, God bless the internet. Corey Graves, as that was happening, Corey Graves, color commentator on SmackDown, tweets out, "Retribution?" Didn't say anything else. No hat, just Retribution. I was like, oh, good God. God bless him. That's fantastic. because now we're getting, and they talk about AEW IT security. So now we're doing the hacker thing. Okay, well now that I just said that he's no longer under contract, why not Mustafa Ali?
But what happens?
I know
What
it
happens
makes no
when
sense, but
right? If they do bring retro, if that's what they're doing here, how do you recover when Mustafa Ali takes off the devil mask and there's zero reaction?
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because I think that's what would happen.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Before I let you go, they did announce Tony Schiavone standing there with Sting and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. They have announced AEW Revolution, which will be Sting's final match, will take place Sunday, March 3rd at the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, which, by the way, was the site of the very first Clash of Champions, where Ric Flair and Sting wrestled for 45 minutes for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. How fitting.
Yeah.
How fitting. After all these years, Sting going back to Greensboro.
That was cool. As I mentioned earlier about, Flair coming back and there's people that are booing him. And they did, they bring him back to be part of this final run with Sting. And you see all this, and you're like, okay, I hope they do it right. I really hope that they do it right with Sting retiring and getting to face the right people, getting to face people that make sense for his final 3.5 months of wrestling now that he's about to embark on. And 3 months. And to say that his final match is going to be in Green, Tony Khan did that right. I don't know whose idea it was at the beginning, but for them to get this done is really, really cool. And it's going to make that show really emotional when it's over.
I tell you what, as soon as that happened, I was looking up flights. Because, man, I mean, I've watched Sting going all the way back to the Blade Runners in Mid-South. I've gotten to visit with him, and he lives up in Dallas or Dallas area. AEW has got a lot of issues, but you're right. The one thing Tony Khan has gotten absolutely right this whole time is how they have treated Sting.
Yeah.
It's what he should have gotten in WWE. And big kudos to Tony Khan for making sure it happens in this run in AEW. I think just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
It's something I learned when I was doing the show with Animal, and having friends that are in their 40s or older that are wrestling fans, that I missed out on that nostalgia level of Sting. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, Sting is the Crow Sting that came down from the rafters. I don't have all the Sting Flair memories. I don't have those type of memories that you guys have from the Crockett days.
Yeah.
But seeing how well this is done and being disappointed, because I was at Survivor Series when Sting debuted. It was in St. Louis, Survivor Series in St. Louis, 2014. I got the ticket stub right there. Yeah. Right there for it. And seeing how that ended, yeah, that sucked. Yeah. It did. Seeing the way they went about the WrestleMania match, involving having the NWO come out and helps like that.
And DX, and it was just, yeah. So, like I said, Tony's doing it right. So, He is Joe Roderick. Catch him on Pro Wrestling Talk STL Saturdays, right, on 590 The Fan in St. Louis.
Just web only now.
Web only. Okay.
Yeah, web only now. Yeah,
podcast.
We just put out the podcast this past week of the Survivor Series, fresh off it. Emergency podcast is what it was. I mean, right after I pretty much drove home and got ready and sat down and did a podcast right after it. So you're getting fresh thoughts on that, as opposed to these that are about 5 days of thoughts and contemplating on it. Yeah.
All right. All right. So get it wherever you get your podcasts.
Exactly.
Joe, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely, Stu. Hope still, fingers crossed. I see you in Vegas. Fingers crossed.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.